All right, you sexy little boys and you sexy little girls, let's talk about resilience. First, you might be asking, why the fuck am I wearing a fedora? That's none of your goddamn business. Let's talk about resilience. That's a little aggressive off the bat, isn't it? All right, I love you all very much. I'm wearing a fedora because why the fuck not? So, a topic that comes up a lot in my coaching program is the idea of like resilience and like how to bounce back when maybe things don't go the way that you expected, or maybe somebody says no to you and you feel a little bit hurt. Maybe you're going through a rut. Maybe you're feeling frustrated with your lack of progress or perceived lack of progress, because often we're making progress, but we're just kind of being hard on ourselves. And resilience is a topic that we talk about all the time. And I was sort of brainstorming and going back and forwards with one of my really good friends who loves these topics of like mental health and like goals and achievements and stuff like that. And we had a little bit of a discussion about resilience. And I wrote down a whole bunch of, just stuff off the top of my head of how you can build your resilience. So we'll have a bit of fun going through some of these. Probably the first thing, I mean, I guess you could say it's like the philosophy of resilience is stoicism. If you don't know what stoicism is, it's basically a bunch of super sexy, super fucking amazing, legendary Greek and Roman dudes back in the day who were like, whoa, if I just like don't get all emotional all the fucking time, and if I just chill a little bit and understand my emotions and understand my brain and just zoom out a little bit and don't get so focused on the negative and maybe I focus on the positive a little bit more, whoa, like it feels cool as shit. That's basically Stoicism. Stoicism is resilience. Stoicism is not getting bogged down and broken and defeated because of external events. Stoicism is essentially, I am in control. My mind, I get to choose what happens up here. I maybe can't decide everything, or I can't influence literally everything that's happening outside in the external world. Like the external world is going to do whatever the fuck the external world wants to do, but I can control my mind. That's stoicism. In other words, I can't control what happens to me, but I can control how I feel about it or what actions I take. So stoicism is probably the best place to start with resilience. And there's so many different recommendations I can give you for like building stoicism. Probably the first one is like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And if you just hop onto YouTube and just search for Marcus Aurelius Meditations, there's like so many people that have just read this out. It's a completely like free book at this point. Like you don't need to pay money for it. It's in the public domain. So just hop on YouTube and look up Marcus Aurelius Meditations. Amazing book on stoicism. Another really good one is Epictetus. You can just search for the Discourses of Epictetus, book one. There's like 4 different books. And I actually think I like him more than Marcus Aurelius. Again, this is a free, like public domain book. So just look this stuff up on YouTube. And then actually my favorite recommendation is Byron Katie, who a lot of you know is my favorite author. And her first book, Loving What is literally a book on stoicism, but it's a book on stoicism written by a very friendly, sweet old grandmother. Look at that. Isn't that just the sweetest, like little old face ever? But she is just like a fierce fucking stoic. Like, holy shit. She is infinitely more resilient, more stoic, more masculine, even though she's a sweet old grandmother, than like even some of the best stoics. And her book is just absolutely about accepting the way that things are instead of fighting against them. So, in other words, look, reality is going to do whatever it's going to do. The external world is going to do what it's going to do. You influence the things that you can change, you accept the things you can't, and you make peace with that. So, her book is probably my favorite starting place with Stoicism. On top of that, so once you've gotten into a bit of Stoicism and read some of those books that I recommended, man, probably my favorite activity that I get for people after they've had a rejection or they're feeling down, or maybe their coaching isn't, or their business isn't going the way that they want it to, or something like that, is I will say, right, we're going to find the good in this. Right now, you're telling me that it's bad that you've been rejected. You're telling me that it sucks that you're sick, or you're telling me that it's painful that nobody's signing up for your business or your coaching business or whatever it is. Let's find the good in this. I want you to write me 10 reasons why this is a good thing, or 10 reasons why this could be a good thing. And every person I give this exercise to, they're like, but there can't be any good in this. I just got rejected. My heart is fucking broken. I'm in pain. Even some of the big shit where they're like, bro, I was with this girl for like a year. We were in love. We broke up. I'm heartbroken. And I'm like, okay, when you're ready, and this isn't something to necessarily rush. I don't force this on people, but I say, when you're ready, why don't you just try and see if you can find 10 reasons it's a good thing that you guys broke up? And they're like, bro, there's no good in this. There can't be. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, when you're ready, why don't you just try? And they'll come back a couple of weeks later and go, holy fuck, here's my list of 10 reasons why it's a good thing. Jesus Christ, I can't believe that I'm sitting here saying this heartbreak, or this thing that I called a heartbreak, could possibly be a good thing. Holy fuck. And it just kind of like opens your mind to the possibilities of the future. In other words, it gets you to start hunting for how this could be an opportunity rather than just like a miserable failure or like painful and any of that. And that word that I just said, failure, I do the same sort of thing. I kind of ban the word. I mean, I don't hardcore ban it, but I don't like the word failure in my coaching program or in, this audience. And if I hear someone say, I failed, or this was a failure, or man, I'm failing so much, I would just gently go in there and say, hey, like, what if we don't call this a failure? Is there some way that this could be an opportunity? Is there some way that instead of calling this a failure, this could be like a learning experience? And isn't a learning experience like growing? Doesn't that mean that you've grown, you've learned, you've developed? Like, how could that be a failure? And so in my mind, there is no fucking failure. You've just figured out something that didn't work. Awesome. Now you're one step closer to figuring out the thing that will work. You've learned something. You've grown. You've evolved. Even if all you've learned is, holy fuck, I never want to do that again because that really hurt. Amazing. What a great fucking learning lesson. So trying to, or always looking for the good in things that we automatically say are bad. And I've done podcasts on this. I did one in particular called There Is No Such Thing as Bad. So this episode is on my Spotify channel. Just look up There's No Such Thing as Bad, Kill Your Inner Loser. And I talked about, like so many times in life, we look at something and we go, okay, this is automatically bad. A girl or a guy, someone broke up with me, that's bad. And it's like, does it have to be though? What if that's the best thing that ever happens to you? How did I come to this idea that, not everything is necessarily bad, that there are ways to find or create the good in every situation? In other words, look for the silver lining. How did I get to that philosophy? By looking back at my life and every single thing that at the time I said was awful, oh my God, this sucks, this is miserable. When I look back on those things now, I'm like, damn, bro, that was like the best thing that could have happened because it was the turning point. That pain that I felt in that moment was literally the catalyst, the reason why I then got into self-improvement or decided to never do that thing again or decided to move in a more happy, positive, peaceful, beautiful direction. And so that thing that at the time I said was awful, fuck man, I'm glad that happened. And I just went back through everything in my life and literally everything that had ever happened, all the years of suicidal thoughts and holding that knife right next to my fucking wrist and wishing that I had the courage to to fucking end it all. Like all of those moments, I look back on and I'm like, fuck man, I'm glad I went through that shit. Hey, like I'm so fucking glad. At the time I said it was the worst thing ever. That's kind of what that's a way to build that resilience, is to sort of almost trust in the universe, I guess, or trust in yourself and your own ability to grow, to improve, to self-develop, and trust that, look, even if right now this doesn't feel like a good thing, this feels like a failure or a rejection or it's miserable or it sucks, maybe I can find a way for this to be a good thing. Maybe I can, use this as an opportunity. One of my favorite fucking quotes is from Grant Cardone, and it goes, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. And I fucking love that because it's like if you go hunting for the opportunity, you can say the same about every rejection is an opportunity in disguise. Maybe that person wasn't the best person for you. Now you're freed up to go and find someone who's an amazing fucking match. Or maybe you're freed up to start looking inwards and go, maybe I'll stop trying to put my fucking or require other people to give me that validation and that love and that intimacy. Maybe I can just give that to myself. That thing that I'm seeking from everybody else, maybe I can just give that to myself. And then other people can be a beautiful bonus instead of me going out there and trying to get fucking validation and love from other people. So every rejection, every failure, every problem, every struggle, every bit of suffering is an opportunity if you are willing to look for it. But if you sit there and say, this sucks, this isn't fair, life sucks, like this is painful, you don't understand, Andy, it's really hard for me. Trust me, I do understand. I was there for 15 years of my life, fucking miserable, depressed, suicidal, all of that. I understand the victim mindset. I understand hopelessness. I understand feeling like this just sucks. Objectively, this is awful. I understand that. I used to tell the same stories too. I used to say, this is just awful. There's no good in this. There's no silver lining here. But I'm telling you, with enough experience, if you practice this, you can get to a point where like, fuck man, there's a silver lining in everything. My favorite go-to example, and this might be extreme for some of you, so if this doesn't click, hey, that's beautiful, that's okay. My favorite example, the go-to example that everybody uses of something that is just objectively bad is Hitler. Hitler is just like the fucking poster child of like bad. People are just like, oh, you're being like Hitler, and that's just, meant to be the worst thing in the entire universe. If you think about it, can you find the good in Hitler? And a lot of people will look at that and be like, bro, what the fuck? I'm not going there. And if you're not ready to go there, perfect, beautiful, that's okay. But quite a few of you have had this discussion, especially a lot of my coaching clients where we tend to have these sort of deeper philosophical discussions. We've gone there and we've said, and I've said to them, can you come up with some good like Hitler? Like, is there some good in the whole fucking Hitler and the death of millions of people and all of that? And they take a deep breath and they're like, fucking hell, man, you want me to find the good in Hitler? Jesus Christ, dude, what are you asking me to do? And I'll go, you don't have to do this, but you can think about it if you want to. It's an interesting idea. They'll sit there and think about it for a bit. And my favorite one that most people come up with this when I suggest this topic to, or this exercise to them, they go, fuck man, we haven't had a lot of world wars in like 80 years. Maybe a big part of that is because what Hitler did was so unbelievably fucked that like it's burned into our collective fucking conscience. And we're just not willing to go there again. Like, we don't want to have another world fucking war. Because it's like, holy shit, that was some fucked up stuff. And obviously Hitler wasn't the only person, that killed millions of people. But Hitler's kind of that goat. It's the one that's burned into our brains. And so that could be a possible silver lining. Hey, we haven't had a world fucking war since then. Because that was so unbelievably insane that it's just stuck in our heads of like, holy shit, we don't want another Hitler situation. So you see how like, and again, if you're not willing to go there, I perfectly understand, I promise. But no one's ever presented me with anything that they say, this is objectively bad. And then I can't even think of a single positive silver lining. Nothing. You're welcome to try. You're welcome to leave a comment. We can have fun with this if you want to, but just know that I will win. Like, and it's not a competition. It sounds like that's a competition. That's not what this exercise is. Just know there's nothing you will give me that I can't come up with at least one fucking positive. At least one. And that doesn't mean that you then say, oh, well, I'm glad that Hitler did what he did. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you can find one positive in anything, okay, now we have an opportunity to start moving towards our goals, the things that we want. Instead of sitting there in rejection, in pain, in suffering, in misery, we go, okay, maybe this fucking breakup with this woman that I loved, fuck man, maybe there's a way this could be a good thing. And then it just gives you that little tiny flicker of hope. And then you can start moving towards the life that you want. So finding the good in everything is a great way to build that resilience. Another mindset that's really helped me is when someone says no. Like, let's say it's a woman or a guy that you're talking to and you're interested in them and they say no, or they're just not willing to go on a date with you, or they're not single, or whatever it might be. Let's say you're building a business and you have someone that, you really want to sign up to your coaching program or to buy your product, and you think they're going to say yes, but then they just kind of don't say yes and they just back out at the last second, whatever it might be, but you get a no. And a lot of the time we call that a rejection. And by the way, I've kind of banned the word rejection as well. And not that I actively police it, but if someone in my coaching program uses the word rejection, I will send them the 7 videos I have done about the word rejection and how, look, it's not a rejection. She's not rejecting you. She's just rejecting your offer. It's not a personal rejection. She doesn't think that you're an ugly piece of shit who deserves to die. She just doesn't want to have sex with you. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just, I don't want to have sex. I don't want the thing that you're offering. I don't want sex with you. And so I have all these mindsets on rejection. I try not to use the word rejection, but we'll use it temporarily here for a second. So if rejection is really getting you down, this mindset is so beautiful. Tell yourself every no is one step closer to the next yes. That mindset has just helped me so many times. It comes from sales. It's not something that I've obviously come up with. This is just a basic like sales training 101. They'll tell you this on day one of sales. They'll say, don't fucking stress about all of the no's. You're going to get 95% of people saying no to you. Some of them will even say no really harshly, which doesn't really happen in dating, by the way. The vast majority of women and guys are really nice when they say no. They'll let you down gently. But in sales, if you're doing cold calling sales, it can be a little rougher sometimes. But they will tell you every no is one step closer to the next yes. We don't give a fuck about the no's. We're looking for the next yes. Just keep grinding until you get that next yes. It's a numbers game, in other words. You got to play the numbers game. Another mindset that's very similar is every no makes you stronger. Like, this whole podcast is about bulletproofing your resilience or building your resilience. How do you build anything? By practice. How do you get competent or good at anything? By fucking doing it a bunch of times. How do you think you build resilience? By practicing resilience 1,000 times. And so every time someone says no to you, rather than looking at it like, fuck, this is eating away at my self-esteem, this sucks, this hurts, oh man, I can't take the rejection. Instead of letting it pull you down, let it build you up. Literally tell yourself the story of, I'm glad she said no, or I'm glad this potential client said no. I'm glad this person said no to me because fuck, man, that's making me stronger. It's like one more little chain in my armor, in my chainmail armor. Like we're literally adding piece by piece a little bit of my armor. We're building brick by brick this fortress of resilience. We're building abundance mentality. There are two ways, there's multiple ways, but there are two main ways to build abundance mentality. The first one is to just have a lot of abundance, obviously. But the second one, and maybe the most important one, is to not care when someone doesn't give you the thing that you want. So there's two aspects. There's having abundance and there's having an I don't give a fuck attitude or mindset. It's not caring so much. Outcome independence, we call it that as well. So abundance plus outcome independence. How do you build outcome independence? By literally getting, quote, rejected a whole lot of times. By having a lot of people say no to you until the point where it doesn't even fucking hurt anymore. And so understand every time someone says no to you, I understand at the start, it can be rough. It hurts. It can really hurt. I get it. You tell yourself stories of like, fuck, they're rejecting me, that I'm not worthy, I'm never going to get the dating life or the friends life or the social life or the business life that I want. Man, what if people say no forever? I understand. I told all those stories to myself too. But understand those stories sort of weaken. They start to fade away and you find peace the more people that say no to you. I promise you, if you just go out there and have 1,000 people say no to you, you won't give a fuck anymore. I promise you. And so again, there's two ways to sort of speed run to that abundance mentality, that place of peace and happiness and not giving a fuck. One is to just go and get abundance. The second one, the easier one, literally the easier and quicker one, is to just get rejected 1,000 times. Literally have 1,000 people say no to you and you won't give a fuck. That's actually a strategy that a whole lot of like pickup artists and dating coaches use. Rather than saying, look, I want you to go out and talk to 100 women and hit on them, what they will often say is, I want you to go out and get 100 no's. Like literally your job is to go and make 100 women say no to you. Like you want them to say no to you. And obviously you don't do that forever. Like you're not going to go your entire life, please say no to me. Like, yeah, but for the first 100, it's like, just go and get fucking, quote, rejected. Go and have 100 women turn you down. And then you won't give a shit as much. Then go get another 100 women to turn you down. By the time you've had 500 women say no to you, it will be so unbelievably normal, you don't even notice. Like at this point, I don't even remember how many people have not liked my content or said no to coaching. Like, I can't even remember the last person that said no because I'm not even looking at it because I don't care anymore. But when I first started this shit, yeah, every person who said no to coaching broke my fucking heart. Or I should say, I broke my own fucking heart with the story that I told about it. I was like brokenhearted. I was like, oh my God, like, oh no, no one's ever going to say yes. Oh man, I could have changed this guy's life and he didn't give me the opportunity. Man, maybe I should have said something different. Maybe I should have done a better job. And I would just calm myself down and say, hey, listen, it's okay, Andy. You did your best. People will eventually say yes. Eventually you won't care so much when they say no. Just keep asking more people if they want to sign up for coaching. And you do. You eventually get to that point where you just don't care anymore. So 2 ways to build that abundance. Like I said, actually get an abundance, get a whole bunch of no's. The second one is actually easier, getting a whole bunch of no's. Similar to that, very useful mindset that really helps you go and get a lot of no's is if you see resilience as a game, as in this is like a fucking video game, man, that just goes so far with this stuff. Think of resilience, like imagine an RPG game. And for any of you maybe who aren't gamer nerds, just imagine statistics. Imagine everybody or a character in a video game has a bunch of different statistics. Maybe you have a charisma statistic, like how charismatic are you? Maybe you have a statistic that corresponds to how intelligent you are, like a rating almost. How strong you are, how fast you are, like how agile you are, how cool you are. Imagine a human being as just a whole list of different statistics or different character traits. And each one of those, you have a score or a ranking, a stat. Look at resilience as just a stat in a video game. And how do you level up a stat in a video game? By grinding XP, by just going on a bunch of missions, killing a bunch of enemies, talking to a bunch of characters in the game. See real life as the same thing. It makes this shit a whole lot more fun, and you will approach it with that sort of like grinding mindset. And grinding doesn't have to be hard, by the way. Grinding is fun in itself. That's why we grind in a video game, because we want to level up that stat. So grinding isn't a bad thing, but look at it like you're just grinding. And so go grind that fucking resilience. Go practice your resilience. That's kind of what you're doing when you go out and get a whole bunch of no's. Imagine every person that says no to you as if you were doing a quest in a video game or fighting an enemy in a video game. And obviously don't fight with people, but you're just leveling up that fucking resilience. You're grinding that XP. You're getting to that next level. Literally, that is how you improve any part of yourself. You just fucking grind XP. And so the next time someone says no to you, or if you fail at something, or maybe something doesn't go the way that you expected, see that as a good thing. Holy shit, I'm leveling up my resilience. You can even keep track if you want to. Like, write down how many times a week you got to practice your resilience. Give yourself a score. Go, hey, I probably gained 253 experience points this week on resilience. Have fucking fun with this shit. Like, this stuff is I won't say it's meant to be fun, but it's allowed to be fun. You're allowed to have fun with this. I think a lot of us take self-improvement so unbelievably seriously. We take ourselves so unbelievably serious. I do it from time to time as well. I've just gotten decent at reminding myself, hey, whoa, eventually you're going to die. Everybody's going to eventually forget you. All of the shit that you thought was going to be important, like, probably isn't that fucking important. Have fun with this shit. It's allowed to be a game. Nobody's keeping score. Nobody's like checking to make sure you're doing a good job. Literally, nobody seems to give a fuck if we're doing a good job or not, right? It's not like God or Elon Musk or whoever invented this, weird simulation that we're in. Nobody like reaches down from the heavens and goes, hey, kiddo, just letting you know today you did an A+. Good job. But last week was a B-, so make sure you work on that. Like, nobody's fucking checking in with us and telling us how we're doing, right? It's all up here. It's all the story you tell yourself. Do you think you're doing a good job? Are you working towards the goals that you want to have? Are you having fun with it? And so it's all about the way that we frame it. That's why I say things like, don't call it a failure. Don't call it rejection. Like, use words that empower you. Words are like magic spells. I have said that a million times. If you call it a failure, then you are feeling like a fucking failure. And feeling like a failure isn't very motivating. But if you instead say, oh, I've learned something. Now you feel excited. Now you feel empowered. Now you feel like you are gaining knowledge. Now you're more excited to get in there and work even harder. So use the words that actually serve you. Use the framing that serves you. That is a big part of Stoicism, by the way. That is a massive part of what Stoicism is. It's about like, what words do we use to describe our life? What stories do we tell about our life and about the things that happen to us or the things that happen for us? So frame things as a good thing. Every cloud has a silver lining. Start seeing things not as a failure, but as a learning lesson. There's a really good story on this that I've told many times it's about Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb and about fucking 1,000 other inventions. And he was being interviewed by this journalist who came to see how he was working on, I think he was working on some battery or something at that point, some special battery. And the journalist saw all of these weird prototypes that just, were laying out over the bench. And the journalist said, how are you progressing with this battery? How's it going? And Thomas Edison said, okay, well, I've tried like all of these things here. Here's 10,000 of them that didn't work. And the journalist said, 10,000? Are you serious? You failed 10,000 times. And Thomas Edison was like laughing, and he's like, what are you talking about? I haven't failed. I've simply found 10,000 things that won't work. In other words, I've gotten 10,000 steps closer to finding the thing that will fucking work. This is Thomas Edison. Like, it's not like he's someone that didn't fucking invent shit. And that's his process. He's just like, this is a fucking numbers game, son. Like, if I want to invent something new, I'm going to have to try 10,000 prototypes. Any fucking engineer will tell you that. Any computer programmer, any software engineer will tell you that. It's not like you just write your fucking code immediately and it works perfectly. No, you have to iterate on it a million times. Anybody worth their salt will tell you the way that they got good at something is by failing. It's not even failing. Learning 10,000 times, making 10,000 mistakes. And I don't even call them mistakes because they're like stepping stones to get to the point where you're proficient, efficient, and you know what you're fucking doing. So there is no fucking failure. Resilience, bouncing back is a trait that you can learn. It's something that I really, 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 really encourage all of my coaching clients to do. I really encourage all of you to do it. The more resilient you can be, the quicker you can bounce back and jump back on that horse and go out there and talk to more women, or go out there and write another email and, bring in some more coaching clients, or go out to another party and try and make friends. But if your resilience stat, like you're in a video game, if your resilience stat is very low and you do nothing to improve it, you have just such a hard time of life, because every time something doesn't go the way you expect, you're just fucked for several days. You sit there and you go, fuck, man, what's the point? Like, I'm never going to get back on this horse. I'm never going to make it. I should just sit around and do nothing. The quicker you can get back on the horse, the more improvement you will make, the quicker you get to your goals. And this absolutely applies to giving up vices. Like, let's say you have an addiction to fucking alcohol. And let's say you go 5 days without alcohol, and that's amazing for you. And then you give in and you have a drink. I've seen so many people. I mean, it's probably the vast majority of human beings, right? It's just kind of the way the psyche works by default, unless you work on this. I've seen so many people in that moment beat themselves up and go, fuck, man, I'm such a loser. Like, why did I do this? I was going so well and I just fucking gave in, man. I'm pathetic. I'm never going to give up this alcohol or this vice. Fuck, man, what's wrong with me? And they'll beat themselves up, and they'll take several days to get back on the horse, like to get back into it. And in that time, they will often like overeat, or they'll just keep drinking because they're like, well, what's the fucking point? I've already screwed it up, so I may as well just keep binge drinking for the next 3 days anyway. And they take like 3 days, sometimes even a week, sometimes even several months to get back into it, to have another go of sobriety. The people who are the most successful are the ones who can do that, who can have a drink and go, fuck, man. Okay. Sobriety starts right now. Again, let's go. Day one, right now. Let's fucking go. Those are the people who make the biggest fucking progress, because they don't then waste 3 days or a week or several weeks or fucking several months sometimes beating themselves up. They waste 0% of the time beating themselves up. They waste 0 seconds on it. They will still analyze it a little bit and go, okay, how can I improve? What can I do better? Why did this happen? What safeguards am I going to put in place to make sure that I can do better next time? Do I need accountability from other people? What can I learn from this? Like, why did this happen? And how can I, move in the direction of sobriety a little bit more? How can I use this for good? As I said earlier in this video, how can I see this as an opportunity rather than a failure? And they would just get straight back into it with like maybe 30 minutes of beating themselves up max. I mean, hell, you can get it to a point where you don't even beat yourself up for more than 10 seconds, but I mean, you can not even beat yourself up at all. But the quicker you can get back into it, in other words, the less time you spend beating yourself up and calling it a failure and guilt tripping yourself and feeling ashamed and beating yourself down like it's a fucking boxing match and you're a boxing bag and you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Like, what the fuck? The quicker you can stop doing that and just get back into the process of goal achievement, self-improvement, growth mindset, all of that good shit, the better. If you'd like more help with this, if you like these kind of insights and these kind of passionate videos, and you like the idea of me giving a shit about you personally and giving you, yes, you, tailored advice just for you, one-on-one coaching, essentially, even though it's a group coaching program, if you want me to really give a shit about you and just tunnel in on you and your life and what you need, join our coaching program. There's a link below. I said one-on-one. There are so many times where people will just, it's basically every day, people will leave their questions in the group. They'll say, hey, here's this fucking question I got. And I will just jump in there and I'll be like, right, where's this fucking microphone? I'll grab this microphone. I will just record them a voice message for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. And I will just sit there and go balls deep on their question. I do that like multiple times a day for like everybody in the fucking group. So if that sounds amazing to you, if you want me to hold your hand and the other guys in the group to hold your hand and get you that life that we all know you deserve, but maybe you're a little bit scared to go for on your own, sign up for the coaching, link in the description below. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and crush your goals.